Hey guys, welcome to another class hosted live on the Real Estate Hub Discord server. If you would like to attend any of our classes live, feel free to join the Real Estate Hub using the link in the description. Make sure to like, subscribe, and follow at Actually Agents on all socials to stay up to date on all the fantastic events and classes we're hosting. Without further ado, welcome Andrew to the stage.
What's up? What's up?
We've been putting this off for forever, man. I feel like we've talked so
I
much.
know it's funny because we've been on so many masterminds with each other, and we've talked so much already. It's like I feel like this is old news now.
Nah, not at all, dude. Especially because a guy who's as dynamic as you is always coming out with something that's making my head spin and like, wow, I got to get a piece of that. So, for everyone listening here live and on the recording, you want to just give a brief introduction to yourself? I mean, I just did it on the
Yeah.
live, but yeah.
Oh, did you? I saw you did a Facebook Live, but I didn't log in time to see
Oh no, it's okay. You're dead to me then.
it. So, guys, basically, my name's Andrew Ragusa. I'm a real estate broker in Long Island, New York. I own a brokerage here, and it's a little different the way we do things because I was just thinking to myself like, hey, how do I compete with like big brands like Keller Williams and Douglas Elliman? So I started coming up with ways to really help agents elevate beyond just being a realtor, not just depending on buyers and sellers. So I was really big into flipping houses and buying rentals. And I created a brokerage where I let agents flip houses, buy rentals. And then I started a construction company because we were doing all these flips. I'm like, well, you know what? Now that you guys sell houses to people, you should be able to sell them a new kitchen. You should sell them a new bathroom. And every time they buy an upgrade and do work on their home, you can get a commission on that. So I tried to create multiple revenue streams in this one house, like one-stop shop kind of location.
Fantastic. And that's really what first piqued my interest because it was kind of an avenue you were exploring with your brokerage that I haven't really seen in the market before. And I think you're able to deliver some value there because, instead of saying, hey, we're going to give you a 401k or whatever, right? You're actually giving real estate agents the means to vertically integrate and eventually, hopefully, learn a little bit about the business and maybe retire from sales, right?
Well, everyone who has joined me has joined my brokerage telling me that their intention is to become real estate investors. So they come to me because I make them into real estate investors, basically. So I give you an example. We have one of my agents, Adriana, who I love talking about. She said she was going to be on here, but I don't see her on here. She came in. She's been licensed for 7 months now, and her first month, she got her first deal under contract, and put a deal under contract every month for the last 6 months. She's put one deal, so she did 6 deals in 6 months. This month, at the winter time, it's slow, so I told her, don't beat yourself up if we're not getting a deal right now. Obviously, I want you to, and I hold her to it. But the year's not over. Still might do it, but she's going to take all that commission money and she's going to buy herself a rental property and become a landlord. So within 6 months of getting her real estate license, she's performing at a high level. She's basically becoming a top producer fast, and she's becoming an investor in less than a year. So
Wow.
that's what we kind of created here.
And kind of the advantage she has is you as her broker, right? I mean, I think we all, as real estate agents, we want a good relationship with our broker. And when you're looking for a shop to settle down in or a team to join, like the question I always tell people to ask is, what can this person not so much do for me, but what can they help me with that I don't know what I don't know, right?
Agreed. When I started the brokerage, I was originally, before it all like expanded into this idea of like having multiple income streams. The reason why I created my own shop is because I was first in like a small business, and they only taught me so much. It was fine, it was great, and I'm very grateful for them. Then I went into Keller Williams, and Keller Williams just, I'm not gonna lie to you, that like they fucked up everything for me. Like I started, the information I was getting was so bad. And it's because I learned that in my specific market center where I was, they needed people to teach classes. So basically, anybody who volunteered to teach classes can teach. So now I'm getting access of to information from a person who's really not that impressive, who should not be teaching classes. And they would then the other thing is that KW was like a basically like a new agent farm. Essentially, like a lot of these big brokerages, their strategy is to just go out and find as many agents as possible, and it doesn't matter who's producing, who's not producing. So
The
now
old saying was, if they can fog a mirror, get them in the brokerage.
but that's exactly right. So I was in the room with a bunch of other people who are again performing on a very unimpressive level, which I'm not criticizing people, but when you are surrounded by an average performance that is not above what you're capable of, then you are essentially not challenging yourself. You're not going to grow. You're not around people who are doing more, and you will average out and go down to their level if you start doing what they do and talking to them and taking their advice. And so said this and so said that. So it's really eye opening being in these other companies and watching my performance go down. And then I left, tried a few other things, and eventually I said, you know what? I'm going to open my own brokerage. And the focus here is going to be how do I elevate the people around me while I go out and seek out better and higher information? Like, I'm a big believer in paying for knowledge. So I will pay people to teach me.
Love it. So KW was your first entrance into the real estate industry. That was your first company, the unofficial training arm of the entire industry.
KW was my second year. My first year, I was actually in a small brokerage at a mom and pop shop. It was just me and the broker. I was the first person she hired. And she's only been living in America for about 6 years at that point. She was Chinese, and I was living in an apartment in Queens. I don't know if everybody knows, but in Queens, New York, there's a huge Chinese population. And because she's only been living in the country for a short period of time, there's a little bit of a language barrier between her and I. But that woman, when I met her, I knew she was going to help me, and she poured her heart and soul into me. And she threw me every lead she could find. Basically, if the lead speaks Chinese, she took it. If they spoke English, she gave it to me. And the problem I had at the time was she could not teach me so much because of the language barrier. So I found myself in a lot of situations where I'm reaching out to other people in other offices and asking, "Hey, how do I fill out this form? How do I write up an offer? How do I calculate, these numbers?" Well, because she really can't teach me. But because of the love that she poured into me, I success because she dumped leads on me. I just had to go learn and teach myself essentially.
Hmm. Now, so I know in your mind you saw that, all right, my performance is decreasing to average around the people around me, right? And that's a philosophy I prescribe to. My grandfather drilled it into me growing up. And for those of you who don't know, my grandfather was the person who spurred me to get into the business, and he always said surround yourself with people who are smarter than you. What spurred you to go out and take the leap of starting your own brokerage rather than forming a team within another organization? Because we have a lot of people on this server and in past masterminds and classes who have been huge proponents of going and joining the team. The team, I mean, we've been hearing this for years now. Teams are taking over the industry. The small broker is dead. Um, but you're kind of standing counter to that point, and might I say very positively standing counter to that point, that there is space in the market for independent brokers who are doing things different. So walk me through like your mindset. What made you decide to open a brokerage?
So, you know, first of all, I've had like a few people in my life who really was just putting that idea in my head from the start. They were literally like my aunt and I, who were very close. My aunt and we were like, she knows more about me than my parents do, so we were very close. and my sister, and like a bunch of people in my life were basically planting the idea from the moment I became a realtor. They were like, "Hey, don't just be a salesperson. Like, you need to be a broker." And they were really just like hammering that home. So the idea kind of was like in my head from the start a little bit. But the reason I went the route of being a broker versus a team is because I was in a few companies, which I'm not going to drop names, because they were good companies and I liked them. But I felt as if in the way that they were set up, I was already kind of like just doing my own thing and I'm on my own anyway.
Hmm.
So then I thought to myself, like, it's just one step further for me to be independent. And my whole thought process was if I just create my own brokerage, it does a few things for me. First, any agent I recruit, I can come up with any sort of compensation package I want. And I've come up with a lot of creative things for people, like just way outside the box, besides just talking about 70-30 commission splits, I mean, or 50-50 commission splits or whatever we set up. Like I have people who are getting like, 70-30 commission splits with like 15% equity in the property, and they get like a whole downline uh, system. Like it's whatever we come up with. Like I can make up my own sort of compensation to get people to come work with me. And then the other thing is because I was raising money and flipping houses and I was going to real estate auctions and buying properties, I was going back to investors and I was saying to them, hey, look, I just bought this property. I paid this much for it. This is what we're going to sell it for. When they heard I was a broker, they had a little more respect for me. And it's a real thing when I've had people ask me like, oh, are you a associate broker, you broker, you salesperson? It doesn't happen too often, but people who have a lot of money and big pockets, they know the difference. So it really helped me with branding myself as an authority on the subject by going that route. Does that make sense?
It does, and again, bring it back to my grandfather. He still pushes me. He's retired from the business now, and I don't do a ton of residential sales, but he still pushes me and says you should get your broker's license. So you're someone I respect. Do you believe that there's value in having your broker's license, even if you never intend to go and start your own shop?
Yeah, I think so. The title of broker is just received much better than the title of salesperson.
Hmm.
And it gives you that freedom to at any point do whatever you like. Like you're not going to ever be dependent on a company. And
Hmm.
I'm the type of person that I don't like to be held back based on relying on other people. It's a little bit of a gift and a curse. Like it's a gift because I will go do whatever it takes to make me successful and I go hard. And then at the same time, when I need other people to get things done, I get frustrated when it doesn't get done fast enough.
Hmm.
So that's why I say it's not exactly a strength, but it's not exactly a weakness. But I like to be as independent as possible. So with a broker's license, like even if you're in a company now, like let's say you're in a great brokerage, you like it, but you don't know where life's going to take you, you can literally just go online with a few clicks of your mouse and you go from being an associate broker to an LLC broker or an independent broker or whatever you want to be like that. And you may go out and make your own money with no one stopping you.
Hmm. So do you think it clicked early on for you in your career, this idea of multiple sources of income? Because I feel like in my travels with real estate agents, a large majority of them kind of put themselves into the box that the opportunities for monetary gain being a real estate agent is helping sellers and helping buyers, right? They don't
Right.
ever think bigger than that. So did that click early on for you?
Well, remember when I said before I'm a big believer in paying for education?
Hmm.
The number one thing that every single high performing person that I bought information from, the one of the biggest common denominators between all of them is they all have multiple streams of income. And I actually looked at my career in real estate as a realtor and said to myself, the problem I have at this moment right now is that there's only one source of income, and that is buyers, sellers, and renters. And that was back in, I'm going to say 2018. And that was when I made the decision that not only do I want to add flipping houses and rentals, but I wanted to specifically do it using other people's money. Because if I knew I was just going to rely on my own money, it was going to take way longer. So I went out with the intent to create funds where people can buy in and now use their money to do multiple projects. And then I was thinking to myself, like, look, if I get like 5 houses set up and they're averaging about 100 grand, profit per house. I got 500,000 there. Brokerage before I recruit anybody, I was making like 200,000 a year. That means I should be around 700,000 for the year. And then COVID hit and my plans went like so.
I think all our plans went a little sideways, and we all had to pivot a little
Yeah,
bit.
yeah. But that was my whole mindset was I need to add another stream. And once I did that, I became more financially stable every time I added something than ever before. And I didn't need each thing to be huge. Like for
Mhm.
example, the general contracting company that I run in Long Island and in New Jersey. In Long Island, we've taken in the last 2 months, I've taken 4 jobs. And I what I do is when I create companies, I bring in people who are really good at taking direction, number one, because that's a skill. And I don't know if everyone's aware of that, but it's the ability to take direction is very rare. Well, it's not rare, but it has to be a certain personality type who's willing to just be open, learn, and take direction well. Not interpret what you say, not do what they think you meant, but take direction, right? And then
Put
find
aside
the
the ego.
yeah. And this is the thing, I don't claim to know everything, but if they're good at taking direction, they're more willing to go out and seek the knowledge as well. Instead of just being like, no, I got this, I'm gonna figure it out. Right. So I bring in other people and I basically act as the salesperson for each company. And then I let the other person execute on the service end. So in the last 2 months, we brought in 4 jobs. I split the profits 50-50 with the project manager. Her name is Diana. I made her a partner. She actually owns 50% of the company. If you want to get technical, I gave her 52% of the company, but in the contract, I'm managing partner, so I have all direction and say of the company. But I made her 52% because now we are minority woman-owned business, which helps us get
Really,
contracts.
eternally the marketer, my friend. I like that. I like that.
But Diane and I split those profits right down the middle, and those 4 jobs we've made at least an extra 12 or 15 thousand dollars. Um, that we would not have made from selling houses or listing something. So like just the fact that I have more services to offer, even if it's not like they're. I mean, I intend on making these things grow. I don't want to make it sound like I don't want them to grow. I do want to add them and get them lots of jobs. But having the ability to have more services to offer was a game changer for me because now I started making money more stably instead of just depending on closings.
Well, it's almost like when you focus on expanding your suite of services rather than your first quote unquote, I hate the term, but side hustle being something that's so uh disparate from your main source of income. You're really just growing an ecosystem, right? If one
Yeah,
business is feeding into the other, for example, like me, I was always fascinated with making money online, right? So
yeah,
and
me
I was a
too.
real estate agent at the time. And what did I pick as my side hustle? Selling yoga mats and prayer beads. you
Really?
know yeah, it was a drop shipping company, all influencer marketing. But and by the way, it failed only because when I chose that, you know, I couldn't sell my real estate clients prayer beads and yoga mats. I mean, there were a few nutsos there probably would have bought the prayer beads and yoga mats, but I couldn't
Yeah.
sell the yoga mat clients real estate, right? But what you've done is, at least at the start, because I know you got a freaking lobster food cart. Now you're into so many things that I wake up feeling FOMO, like fear of missing out on what Andrew Ragusa's got going on. But it's you're focusing on building the brokerage. That's automatically going to lead to more opportunities for the investment funds. And if you're focusing on, building up the investment funds, that's going to lead to more opportunity for the contracting company, right?
Exactly. And one of the first things that I actually learned from Grant Cardone, which again, I said I pay for knowledge. I've paid for lots of classes, Grant stuff, Tony Robbins, lots of people, and it was worth every penny every time. One of the big things that he taught me was you have about a 50 to 55% chance to resell to a customer who has previously bought from you. And when they were breaking down the statistics and showing the numbers, so it was like they were basically saying for cold leads, they had X conversion ratio, which is low, which is somewhere like, basically 10, 20%. I think 20% would be generous. So it's somewhere like 10 or 8% conversion on cold leads. And then they had, leads that they've been prospecting over time with lots of follow up. Those are warm or, hot leads, depending on how quickly they were coming in. But then when you go to your past client database, the conversion ratio for past clients is so high. It was over 50%. It was basically like 55, sometimes 60% for some of the salespeople. And it was really an eye opening moment for me where I was like, oh my God, I need to sell something to the people who've been buying houses off of me for the last 6 years. So then what do they all have in common is that they all end up renovating their house at some point. So
Hmm.
I didn't need to know everything about general contracting. I'm going to tell you what, I've learned more than ever before just by becoming a general contractor. But what I did
Which
was
helps in the real estate business, right?
absolutely. But what I did is what I teach all my agents to do is to find somebody who is good. They know what to do, but you can see that you could absolutely bring value to their business and bring them in. So like I basically found people, like I found these workers. They're really beautiful with the work that they do is beautiful with the masonry, and I'm watching them do this. I'm like, man, I'm like, Jose, if I find you more work, will you work for me? And he said, yeah, just bring me jobs. So then I bring Jose to Diana. I introduce him. I'm like, Diana, this is Jose. He can do all the masonry. And he's teaching me as I find the job. So literally I go find a house. This guy wants to build a patio. Okay, great. We come, talk to the homeowner. I get a basic idea of what he wants. Then I go back to Jose and I'm like, look, this is what he wants to do. And we talk about it between he and I, and he tells me, okay, so if we're gonna do this, we need to get this type of cement. We have to get this type of patching. It's gonna require this kind of drain. And I'm learning as I go.
Hmm.
So I didn't like need to be a general contractor to get this started.
Hmm.
But essentially I found someone who knew what he was doing, and he's teaching Diana and I at the same time. And I just go back to the customer. I'm like, okay, this is what these materials cost. And now when I talk to the customer, I literally repeat what Jose told me. So I know what I'm talking about, and they think that I've done this before. But I go out, I find what the material costs for all these things are. I get a labor price from Jose. I get delivery costs. I put in a contingency budget, and I tack on fees for Diane. And I go back to the customer, charge them a number. If they agree, boom, we got our first. We have another construction job going on first. We have another construction job going. You see what I'm saying? So that's the point I'm making is that you don't need to know how to do everything. You just need to go do it. Just go do something because you're going to figure a lot of it out in the doing of the process.
Well, it goes back to surrounding yourself with people who are smarter than you. Now, that's very general. I mean, just because a guy's laying bricks doesn't mean he's not smarter than you, right? We all have our strengths and weaknesses. So
Yeah.
that's you practicing what you're preaching right there. You brought
Well,
on someone who knew what you didn't, and I imagine by like the second or third patio, you have a general idea of, you know, whether this is a job that's worth it or a job that's not worth it, right?
yeah, I know. I could walk into someone's backyard right now, and I won't just throw a number at the homeowner because then they think I'm just being, a slimy salesman.
Yeah,
If
yeah.
I throw a number at them without actually bringing them a breakdown of what things cost, they think I'm making it up. But I know I could walk into the person's backyard and just be like, "This is gonna be a $30,000 job." And
Yeah.
then we go price it out, and we're like right there. It's like 28 or 32 or whatever. And that just came from going out and doing it. when I said access, not, information from people who are smarter than you, there's a couple of different ways to do that. So from a business perspective, going to Tony Robbins trainings and Grant Cardone's trainings and all these people that were high producing individuals, John Maxwell, there's a bunch. I've done so many. I spent so much money on this. I learned business strategies, diversification of sources of income. I learned sales strategies. I've learned selling and closing techniques. I've expanded my own mindset when it comes to things where like I actually started to believe in myself more. And like I wasn't always just like, oh, let me go figure it out. Like I had problems in the beginning too, becoming an entrepreneur for the first time. I was questioning myself. Am I doing enough work? Am I working? Why do I have so much free time? I don't know. Am I working hard enough? Or
Mhm.
I definitely need to go do this or need to do more lead gen or more cold calling. I feel like I'm not doing enough. You get over all of that when you start to invest in your mindset. And then on the other side of that coin, it's if you are getting into the part where you're like, okay, now how do I actually do an action? That's another type of intelligence right there. So associating with the people who knew how to flip houses, knew how to do general construction, people that knew how to get listings, people that knew how to work buyers. Those are another group of people who were smarter than me that I would go out and find and associate with them. You see what I'm saying? So the information you want to access will change based on what you're trying to learn here. You basically want to go to the right person each time.
Well, and then underpins that you don't want to stagnate either, right? You want to
Right.
be learning until the day that you drop dead because nobody can know it all. So,
I honestly don't stop. I to this day I am constantly buying new classes, new programs. I like I just signed up for a class for Dale Carnegie.
oh, really?
Yeah, you know the book How to Win
How
Friends
to
and
win friends and influence
yeah.
people, yeah.
So
You know,
there is what?
what you know that that got dumbed down over the when did that book come out?
I don't know, but it's old.
I don't know. I want to find an original copy of that book because apparently there was a whole section that got cut from the book that you can buy on the shelves
Really?
today. Yeah. And I mean, we won't go in, but it was basically all about seduction, right?
Well, I signed up for a class on that. I've read the book. I'm really good at a lot of this stuff anyway, but just because it's probably something I could relearn or do it again, I signed up for a whole 12-week in-person class to do that course. And
Wow.
then they're also going to touch on Napoleon Hill's book, How to Think Big and Grow Rich. I don't know
Hmm.
if you ever read that one. So that's another classic, the law of attraction stuff right there. Um, you know, that's another course I paid for. And I will continue to spend money and do these things to constantly level up. I'm in the middle of reading Chris Voss's book, um, the Never Split the Difference. You know who Chris Voss is?
I heard that was a good one, and I have it on my super long list of things I have yet to read. I can't lie and said I read it, but I hear good reviews.
Well, if you guys haven't read that one, Chris Voss was a FBI negotiator who used to negotiate terrorisms and hostage situations and all these things for years and years and years. And he wrote a book about how he would convince people to not kill others, to give up, to walk out. He's one of the most influential people when it comes to negotiation that you can go find. So it's a great read. It's
Yeah.
called Never Split the Difference.
Never split the difference. I'm writing it down. I don't actually have a full list of books I haven't read yet. I just know the ones I want to read. But if you recommend it to me, I will read it. So, um, for the people listening, Andrew, and the people, listening to this recording after the fact who have a light bulb going off in their head and they say, oh my God, I have been putting myself in a box. I'm only focusing on buyers and sellers or this one source of income. And we'll keep it to real estate agents because that's our general audience. What would you tell them to do so that they can set themselves up for success? Like, what would be the first thing a real estate agent should look at as an alternative source of income? Buying rental properties or getting into, flipping with other people's money? What would you recommend?
So both of those options require money. If you don't have it, you can raise it. When I first started raising money to do investing, I would make people deals that they just would not say no to. For example, the first house that I bought that I wanted to flip, I laid out the money for the down payment. And then I went to my brother-in-law first and my sister and said, "Hey guys, I bought this house and I used about $75,000 in down payment and closing costs and a little bit of construction." And I said to my bro, I'm like, "Look, if you give me 50 grand, I actually have enough money left where I can go buy another house if you give me the 50, and then I'll give you back 75 grand." So I was giving him a 50% return on his money. So no one would say no to that. And he trusts me, right? Because like it's also we knew each other and he knows that I'm not gonna let him down. If anything, if we ran into a situation where we lose money, I would pay him before I would pay myself.
Hey,
So
Andrew,
he gave me money.
50% return. I'm salivating right now. I just want to let you know I know you, I respect you. Feel free to come to me with any 50% deals.
And listen, I still got good deals. I still got good deals, but I have not given 50% since my brother-in-law. So that was one of the ones to get me started. But
So
my
offer
point,
them a deal that they can't say no to. And
yeah, because I mean, look, you could find people. There are people out there who have money. They want to invest in real estate, but they don't want to do the legwork. They don't want to deal with tenants. They don't want to deal with construction. They don't want to do like all of the things that has to be done. And as long as they'll leverage the money if you'll do the service. And as long as you make it so it's a hands-off, passive income investment for them, and you have to prioritize them. They get paid before you every time.
mhm.
You will find an investor. It's out there.
What do you think? I guess whenever I look at getting into things, and I can put myself into the shoes of when I had just gotten licensed 21, 22, and everything seems like really esoteric and out there in terms of like legal documents and that kind of stuff. Um, I mean, do you recommend someone get all their ducks in a row first and figure out how to execute first before going, or basically chase the car and, when you catch it, grab on and hold on for the ride and just keep going?
I mean, I'm a chase the car kind of guy.
Me too.
Like I will just because this is the thing, bro. Like you can't figure out everything. You can't. You got to get out there and just start doing, and you can find answers for every step that's in front of you. But you're not going to know everything that comes your way until you're in it. So it's more important that you get started than you don't. Like I would, if I was going to tell you to go out and raise money, like, all right, first of all, find a good deal, right? The first thing, because like even if you find an investor, like he's going to want to see a good deal, right?
Hmm.
So you could have a casual conversation with someone, and be like, "Hey, look, I'm going to look around. I'm going to look around for deals, but if I find something, would you be willing to finance it? If they're open to it, then great. Now you got to go find a good deal. Get a property, and if it looks like, look, this is on market, we could buy it for this, put this much into it, and it'll probably sell for that much. Do you want to finance it? Let them see it. You have to be vulnerable. Like, some people tell me like, aren't you afraid they're going to go out and buy the property themselves? I'm like, well, they can, and if they do, then I'm just never going to invest with them. I'll never bring them anything again. It's kind of like a one and done. And so I just take that on faith, and I don't worry about it. And then they will evaluate it, and if it works, then they'll give you the money, right? But you can't and then they're going to tell you what they want as their terms. Generally speaking, they'll say like, all right, I'm going to own it. When you're going to, you could say, listen, we're going to be 50-50 owners, both be on the LLC. If you're both on the LLC, you both have to be on hard money loans if there's going to be a loan.
Hmm.
These are things that you'll iron out and discuss with each other. And I think as long as you are transparent and you tell them, like, look, I know I can do the construction. I know I can get the general contracting, controlling of, what subcontractors are here. You're gonna manage materials, order materials. You're gonna order permits or whatever you're gonna do. Like all that stuff, you could tell them, I got that under control. I just need you to finance it, and just be transparent. Then you'll build trust, and someone will do it with you.
So
Yeah,
take the
I wouldn't go in there
get the
thinking.
yes first from the investor, right? And then go leverage it into getting a yes on the deal, maybe, right?
Yeah, I mean, just have a general idea of who you're going to bring it to, but essentially, like finding, like I've done the other way around, where like I found the deal because I didn't have the intent to bring in my brother-in-law until after the fact. I was like, oh wow, you know what? I want to use other people's money
Hmm.
because I know I can go buy more, right? But if you had someone, you just have an idea of like who to bring it to, go find the deal and bring it to them. That would be like the first thing if you're going to look for a second source of income. The other thing I would recommend is like, look, if you don't have the ability to, um, pull off an investment right now, because I know that's a big ask for some people, then there are other things you can sell your customers. Like I know, I'll give you an example. I know a lawyer who is a very, very well respected lawyer here in Long Island because she was the lawyer for the entire MLS. And you used to be able to call her on a legal helpline and she would tell you what's allowed, what's not allowed, so she's very well known, very respected woman. She used to be a broker before she became a lawyer and was going that route. And when she owned her brokerage, she had a hobby of painting, and she would paint scenery and portraits, and they're beautiful paintings. She showed me them pictures on her phone. I was like, "Wow, you made this?" It was gorgeous, right?
Hmm.
So she would sell people a home and then link them to her website and sell them art, and they would buy, and they would pay numbers that you'd be like, wow, like they'd drop $1,000, $1,500, $500 for something that might have cost her some hours. Maybe, she might have to spend a weekend doing something she loved, but she would make like, four, five, six paintings. But the material cost for her was relatively low and she would make a high turnover. So then she found a way to resell to her customers in a way that's not taking on such a big challenge. So I don't want people to feel like, oh, the only thing I can do is go out and find investment companies. I'm telling you, there are other ways to resell to people who have already bought to you.
Oh, I'll give you a great example of this. My mother has a home services company where she does house cleaning, deck refinishing, power washing, that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
Um, every single one of my customers and my agent's customers, because I was the boss at the time and I could plug her wherever I wanted to, um, they would offer, a discount on these house services after the closing, right?
that's
And
great.
to your point, 9 times out of 10, people took them up on some project, right? And
Right.
then I get a little cut on the back. Not a huge cut because it's my mom and I love her. But
That's a
you
great
know,
example.
yeah, so that's something small, but scale it out bigger. So I got a buddy of mine he's with Keller Williams. They have a team in Pennsylvania, the McAteer Will team. And last I was talking to him, he was working on acquiring a self-storage business, right? So
Ooh, I like that.
yeah, a self-storage business and a couple of moving trucks so that whenever he had these moving problems with clients where they had to there was a holdover period and they had to rent a hotel, he reserves like 4 or 5 units out of his storage facility. I don't know if he ever ended up closing on him, and I got to follow up with him. So this reminds me. But the general idea would be to reserve like 4 to 5 of these storage units just for use of his real estate team, and one of these trucks for use of his real estate team. So you know, one business is generating business for another business, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, I love it, man. Me and you have the same kind of mindset of keeping things circular, right?
One of the agents in my brokerage, Carlos, he actually started a gutter cleaning and refurbishing business. And what he started doing was basically he found two workers, and they knew how to do gutters. So he created an LLC. It was called Gold Coast Gutters, and he bought them T-shirts. He bought a decal and slapped it on the guy's truck. It says Gold Coast Gutters on the truck. And every time he sells a house to a customer, he sells them either a gutter cleaning or full gutter replacement if it needs it. And then he offers them a 6-month gutter cleaning contract. And if anybody knows anything about cleaning gutters, you really only have to clean them like twice a year. So he might actually go to the house once in the year to get those gutters cleaned out. But by doing that, he resells to the customer. He goes back to them every year, charges a fee, and gets those houses clean. And then he pays these guys a labor rate for the day, and he still makes money. In the beginning, he was doing it himself, but now it's been 2 years of this, so he's hired two guys, and he's not doing it all himself anymore. So there's another example.
And I'm sure he probably uses, like I did with the cleaning services, I'm sure he uses that in his listing presentations or his marketing for his real estate business.
Oh
Um,
yeah,
like Actually Agents, the Instagram page, when it was just an Instagram page and a tiny one, like 15,000 followers or whatever, um, I would use that in my listing presentations, right? I
mm,
have access to 15,000, referral agents across the country, blah, 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 blah. Your listing will get promoted on there. It's whatever value I wanted to assign to it, right? But yeah, this is for anybody else who wanted to do this. This would be a $5,000 value, and this is just something I include in my for all my listings, right?
I love it.
Um,
It's funny you bring that up. One of the agents in my brokerage today, his name is Steve Chetta. He said that he wanted to start putting in his listing presentation that he's going to email blast all of the listings that he gets to a database of realtors. So I had already purchased a database of realtors when I was creating the coaching company. So I actually had an Excel spreadsheet with 75,000 active real estate emails, phone numbers, names. These are all realtors who have been verified. All the addresses and everything will work. All the email addresses work. And I just gave it to him because, like, those lists are expensive, but he works in a
mhm.
company. I want him to make money. I gave it to him. So now on his listing presentations, he's going around and he's going to tell people, like, look, we take your listing and I'm going to email blast it to 75,000 agents in the entire state of New York. If every one of those agents had just like two buyers, I mean, think about how many buyers know about your property right now, above and beyond just posting it on MLS and letting it sink and waiting for buyers to come to you.
And you only need one buyer, which is the beautiful
Yeah,
thing. The line I always use was Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner. Uh, when you use me, I am casting the widest net out of any other agent you could choose, and we only need to catch one fish,
right.
right? So, all right, I want to switch gears here. So, and just say, guys, there's one other point I want to talk about, but raise your hands if you want to come up and ask any questions of Andrew. Um, because seriously, I mean, you have a wealth of knowledge at your disposal here for free, by the way. But the thing I want to talk about, Andrew, is your latest venture, the real estate school, and
Yeah.
and what we got going on planned for the Discord server here. Because I've
So
teased it a little bit.
I know, I saw. And so for those who don't know, I started a coaching company that I wanted to teach people how to do, how to flip houses, do investments, or you just be a good realtor or whatever, or just general business, because that's what gets me excited. Like, I like seeing people win and make money. That's what, like, some guys are into sports, some guys are into cars. I'm into making money. Like, I just like seeing people win. Like, this is my thing. So I created this coaching company, and because I put together like this whole platform where I recorded like thousands of videos because I had to like delete and re-record. You guys don't know how many times it takes to make a video actually work. But I took what I was doing there and I showed it to some other people, and they were like, "We actually want to start a real estate school. So this would be perfect if you want to partner with us on the real estate school. Bring all the coaching content in there, and then we'll come up with CE classes and we can make it all merge into one." So it worked, and they went out and bought a building, and now we're actually just approved by New York State to do licensing and CE credits. And what I was telling Luca was, you know what? Let's take all the content from the real estate school, even though it's not going to be CE for everybody, but the knowledge and the content is good, and let's bring it to the Discord. So whenever there's a class that I can try to sync to both platforms, we're going to do that. So we're actually going to start having some classes here on the Discord where you guys can just for free log in. If you actually want CE credit, you got to be in the Zoom class for that, which I can give everyone a link. But we're such a big group. that I know not everybody's looking for CD.
Don't worry. We'll get it. So one, we're gonna have we're working right now on an integration of your school to this Discord. Starting just we'll be able to offer CE for New York agents, but we also have planned for the new year a 6 week, right? Six
Yeah,
week new agent boot camp. You want to talk a little more about that? Because
yeah.
I'm
So
super, I'm excited for the CE and being able to have this, but this new agent camp is really exciting me.
so this is it was a new idea that like I was just tossing around with Luca, and I was like, you know what? Why don't we try to make like a 6 week course here? We're gonna do like 1 hour each week, or maybe an hour and a half. I would anticipate just being somewhere around the hour marker. And we'll go over specific things like, do you have the flyer that I emailed you? I bet you if I just pull up my email to you, I could just read it off. 1 second here.
I'm not logged into anything right now.
Let me see here. Sent and insert your name.
Yeah, but again, guys, this is going to be completely free, hosted on the Discord here for you. So, and
Yeah,
it's
it's
going to
going to
be
be
geared
awesome.
towards new agents, but I would highly recommend if you're feeling like you need a refresher in your business, it might be worth it for veteran agents to attend too, right?
So I can't find the flyer, but basically we were gonna go start with a mindset module, and it's gonna have like specific journaling exercises where you're gonna like trying to evaluate a lot of things that have been going on in your business, in your mind, and we're gonna try to like audit it, get it out on paper, and then we're gonna start re-solidifying your beliefs about your business and where you want it to go and what's gonna happen. And then we're gonna move into specific strategies to execute on those things. So like, okay, like we want this many listings or we want this many things, whatever it is, like we're gonna talk about investing or flipping. And we will do, an hour course on lead gen, an hour course on cross promoting with other businesses, an investor course, basically like an hour going over how to find investment properties, how to be a good landlord. I mean, that's going to take a ton of time, essentially, like learn the landlord process and, understanding capital expenditures, how to find houses to flip, spotting deals. You want to learn how to do cash on cash calculations. So this way you can go to investors and be like, hey, you're going to get a, 32% cash on cash return. And a lot of people don't know what that means, but you go to an investor, they should know what it means, and they're just like, "Oh, this guy knows." You are using the industry lingo, so you go back to them and they're like, "Oh man, this guy knows what he's talking about, right?"
Yeah.
And there was a lot of other stuff. I can't remember everything I put on the flyer. I have it on my computer in my
Well,
office, so yeah.
we're gonna have announcements. We're going to distribute out the syllabus so you guys can see which ones you want to attend. I'm gonna highly recommend that, if you commit to attending the first one, you should commit to attending all the classes. But we will distribute that out on the server. And dude, I'm hyped for it. It's gonna be
Yeah,
awesome.
they all kind of layer on top of each other. So I would say if you could do them all, it would be worth it because they're all building on the last week, and it'll be good. It'll be really good. But
Yeah.
my goal is to get all of you to the point where you feel confident in what you're doing. You can go out, you lead gen, and when you talk to your customers, you should be so knowledgeable on the subject that they can't even question buying a house without you. Like you need to be so good at real estate that they're like, man, every time I talk to this guy, I get filled with so much certainty that I just can't imagine working with someone else. And we're going to go over that. We're going to go over like building certainty into another person. We're going to go over how to calculate the differences in monthly payments when making offers. I don't know if a lot of people know this, but if you have to get your client to come up 10 grand, sometimes the difference in that monthly payment is only about $40 a month. So when we break down the cost of buying a home to a homeowner in a way that makes sense to them, like, hey, Mr. Homeowner, I know you want to offer 500,000 for this house, and that's going to cost you about $3,000 a month. But in order to get this deal, we need to be at 510. And if I was to tell you that was only $3,040 a month, is that $40 a month going to stop you from getting this house? The answer is never no. unless they're buying ridiculously outside of their budget.
Or
You
they were
force
never
them
gonna
not to.
buy in the first
They're
place.
never going to buy in the first place. But when you bring them that reality, and I make you so good at answering these objections, like people are like, oh, I don't know. Let me, I got to talk to my parents. Yeah, sure. I totally understand. It makes a lot of sense. Let me ask you though, when was the last time your parents bought a house? Right? And they're telling me, I don't know. It's been like, we've been living in that house 15, 20 years. Yeah, I totally understand. The funny thing is that when your parents bought that house, the market, do you think it was doing the same thing back then? I'm like, no, no, no. Now, I'm not telling you to like trash the parents, but you are breaking what's called the stable datum. So basically, you're taking what they are standing on as their data, their resource for information, and you're showing them why it shouldn't be stood on anymore, right? And then you don't have to say it, but subtly you're going to switch where they stand from standing on their parents to standing on you because you put out so much knowledge and you know so much about the subject that they're like, why am I asking my parents? Like, I'm not going to ask this. They haven't bought a house in 15 years. My realtor's telling me to do it. This is what we do in my brokerage. This is what I teach my agents. And that's why they're closing sales and they're doing things. I
So
paid a lot of money to learn this from other guys.
I know, and you guys are gonna have access to this stuff for free. And Andrew said something a little earlier on in this interview that really, highlights why me and him jive is how he likes making the people around him win. Guys, I've said it before and I'll say it again. I have a very selfish reason for having this Discord server and putting the time into getting these classes and getting these speakers for you. And that selfish reason is if all of you are successful, if all of you become top producers, if all of you become the best in your market, that cannot be negative for me. All right. How on earth could I fail if I'm surrounded by 5,000 winners? Right.
I tell you what, if we got 5,000 winners in this Discord, I guarantee you there's at least 1,000 of them who want to invest in real estate and they can call.
And this server is just gonna keep getting bigger and bigger, guys. So I'm super hyped for that, Andrew. Guys, we're gonna have more information to come. Um, and you cool? I know we're kind of running up against the hour mark here. You cool for some Q&A? If anyone has any
Yeah, of
questions they
course.
want to ask, mano a mano. So guys,
I'm not in a hurry.
all you have to do is hit that hand raise button. I know you're not in a hurry, but I try to keep these to 1 hour for the recording. Uh,
Yeah.
um, hit the hand raise button if you have any questions for Andrew here. And it could literally, guys, it could be about general business strategy. It could be about real estate itself. It could be how to run a lobster food truck because you got one of those now too, right?
Yeah, it's funny is because I'm in a lot of circles now with people who think like me. They just like business. They like to make money. They bring me investments constantly. And one of the investments that they brought to me was, hey, we're going to create this food truck company that they plan on franchising. And the lobster truck is making so much money that we already secured a franchise deal and we're starting to sell off additional trucks. And it's wild. I never thought I would be in this
Bro, this
business,
is
but
like 2 months, like under
I
two
know
months. I've
it's
watched this unfold.
it's pretty wild. And you know what they brought me today? The investor group brought me a investment moratorium memorandum, sorry, on a marijuana growing company, and they want a 25,000 investment, and you can get somewhere like the first year you get back like 15 or 20% on your money. The second year you get 35% on your money. The fourth year you get 50% on your money because the return is sky high. They
Whoa,
just
whoa,
need the
whoa! They
starting
growing here
capital.
in Are they growing here in New York?
They're growing in Canada.
In
In
Canada?
Canada, yeah. And
Whoa!
the
Feel free to
returns are
pass
sky
me
high.
the pitch deck, man.
I'll pass to you. Yeah, they need the money, but this is what I'm telling you. Like, once you are surrounded by people who are doing things on a higher level, and this is now my circle. I get brought opportunities to buy into businesses all the time. It's constant, and that can happen for anybody.
One success turns into two success. You ever heard of the Pareto effect?
No.
So the Pareto effect, something I learned about maybe like 2 years ago. It's that you ever wonder why people are winning and they just seem to keep winning and winning and winning? It's because they take one win and they turn it into two, and they turn each of those two wins into four. You know, hard work leads to success, and success leads to more success, right?
Yeah.
So you're
Yeah, no,
you're
I
just
agree.
getting more and more opportunities. And I find that in my own life too. The more things I chase and the more things I execute on, uh, the more opportunities happen for me. With us having this conversation is the perfect example. Um,
You know, one
five
of the
years
things
ago, you wouldn't have given me the time of day, bro.
what
Um,
was that?
I, I said 5 years ago, you wouldn't have given me the time of day. I don't mean that like you would have been dismissive of me, but I didn't really
No,
have
but
anything in my
dude,
life at that point.
5 years ago, I was in the same boat. I was not in a, I'm only doing real estate 6 years. And I was not in a position in this, in life where anyone would have looked at me and been like, oh, wow, this guy's impressive. I was still figuring things out for myself. A lot can change in 1 year, in 2 years. So like, I want people to feel like you don't need that much time. It's just, you got to start the actual doing, the action taking. That's what moves you forward.
For sure, man. Uh, Dismissed fiber. I sent you an invite to come up if you had a question.
One thing I just want to drop out there before we leave. I'm totally ready want to ask questions, but I want to ask people about an idea I had about a getaway mastermind. I know I've talked to you about it a bunch of times.
Don't even bring it up. Listen, let's get through the boot camp. We can't hit them with too much good stuff all at once, Andrew.
All right,
Don't.
okay, okay,
I'm
fine.
telling you,
You're right.
don't leak that. I haven't
You're
told
right. You're right.
anybody about that. So,
All right. All right.
fiber. What's up, bro?
Sorry, I didn't want to interrupt because there was some great stuff going on there. First of all, Luca, this is awesome what you're doing. It's like crazy opportunity to be able to talk to you on here through this. My question for Andrew, I guess, is like, as a new agent, I've been doing this for just about a year now. What do you think one of the biggest ways, an agent in a larger brokerage or surrounded in an area where there's a ton of other agents that, I could really stand out and make myself different for potential clients?
That's a great question. For what market are you in, by the way?
I'm in Salt Lake, Utah.
Okay. So, I noticed one of the biggest things that I get asked this question all the time from new agents when they first join the company, because I actually go over this in the mindset portion of my training with them, because I feel like in the beginning, a lot of new agents think that they don't have any value to bring to the table because they're like, well, I don't know how to do everything yet, or I'm not too sure how this process works, or I haven't done my first deal, or whatever the reasons. Everyone's got a reason. And the same kind of answer I'm going to give you is kind of similar to what I give everyone. The bar in real estate is not set too high. So meaning like you can go out on this market right now as a first time home buyer and confront 10 agents. Eight of them are going to be not that impressive. They're really not. A lot of people don't know a lot of things. They don't know how the mortgage side works. They don't know about title. They don't even know what title is. They don't know like a lot of things. And that gives us the opportunity to go out and fill a lot of these gaps, go out and just learn a little bit on the mortgage side, a little bit on the title side, a little bit on the home inspection side. And you start having conversations with people and you can start answering questions that other realtors just simply can't. And by just being more knowledgeable on the full picture, you're going to stand out tremendously. And then the other thing to consider is there's an ethics issue in real estate. I guarantee you, we all know a buyer or seller who has dealt with an agent who screwed them over at some point. And this is common, where the person, and they could be in the wrong sometimes, but for the most part, realtors are looked at like salespeople, and they don't always start with trust. By entering into this market with a high sense of ethics and knowing that you'll do the right thing by this customer despite your commission. You'll just do what's right. And if you get paid, you get paid. Great, because it's going to be a byproduct of doing the right thing. But you're going to do what's right for them no matter how this goes down. Even if you make less or even if you don't make any money, then I promise you, you will make money. It's guaranteed. that person will stand by you. They'll either do another transaction with you or they'll refer their friends and family to you. And there were times where I had passed things to others just because I wanted them to succeed, and they always come back to me every single time. So I find that if you keep your ethics high and just do the service with the intent to do the greatest good for your customer at all times, and know what you're talking about, like just study, just know what you're like. I sat down with mortgage brokers and had them teach me how to get qualified for a loan. I learned about the assets, income, credit, and the fourth pillar. I forgot what the fourth one is in this conversation right now. But I learned exactly what it takes to qualify for a mortgage. And then I learned about how debt to income ratio is regulated by the government, and how, you need to have a certain DTI, and some banks will only go up to a DTI of like 36, 38%, while other banks will go to a DTI of 48, 49, and 50%. So knowing these things, and then you have these conversations with your homeowner or your seller, you will demonstrate a level of knowledge above everyone else. Does that help?
That's super helpful. Thank you.
One of the things I used to do is I used to take these buyers, like a first time home buyer, and I would bring them into my office. I would turn my computer monitor to them, and I would open up MLS right in front of them, and I'd say, okay, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to pull up every closed sale in the last 6 months for whatever town they're looking at. And I would put it basically in their budget, and I would get kind of close. Like if their budget was 500,000, I would make the prices like 650, and go a little above the budget because I wanted to see what's out there. And then I would pull up everything that closed in that market for 6 months, and we'd flip through each listing one by one. And I would just say like, oh, look, so here's the taxes on this, here's the photos, this is how long it's on market. After spending about like 30, 40 minutes with the customer, they knew so much more about real estate that we would finish that consultation. And when we get out there and see houses, we would see less houses than when I wouldn't do it. And they would make offers higher than when I wouldn't do that consultation as well. So the by making my buyer so much more confident about their offer, because now they've seen what other people have paid. They have sat down and studied comps with you. But I've built up their certainty in what they're doing so that when we get out on market, they just kind of act fast, and we win more houses, and they make higher offers. And like if you actually look at my offer to what's it called, my sales to sold, whatever, the ratio of
Offers
like,
to acceptance or
yes, like
sold.
if you look at, no, it's like the asking price to the sold price, right? On average, I sell higher than most people because I kind of teach them how, their offer is affected by their monthly mortgage payments, and I show buyers when they're in line with what's happening in the market by doing these consultations. So people who actually end up working it tend to pay more, but at the same time, they win. We get the house. And that's like 50% of the battle. I mean, if I might save you, some agent might save you like 10 grand, which will save you $40 a month. But if you lose every house to save $40 a month, I don't see the value there. You understand what I'm getting at?
Totally.
Yeah. Hey, Dismissed, before you go, I saw in event chat that you're new to Discord, or new to the server anyway. So I just want to say welcome, brother. You made a good choice. And read the frequently asked questions under the welcome category. That'll tell you how to get verified as a real estate agent, how to claim state-specific pings, all that good stuff. And we pushed you some information in your direct messages when you joined as well. So take all that in, and it really helps to improve your experience here. Connor.
Lads, what's up? How's it going?
Good, man. How are you?
Good. I'm driving back from Ottawa to Toronto. Nice little 5-hour drive in the rain and the snow. But
Ah,
I couldn't miss our mastermind. I couldn't miss Mr. Ragosa. So
well, you had a question on clerical stuff, right? More
I
dotting
did,
your
yeah.
I's.
So Andrew, like I guess you split from whatever brokerage you were, or left the brokerage. You're gonna set it up your own thing as a broker. In terms of, I guess, like all those like dotting your I's, crossing your T's stuff, all that kind of tax stuff. Did you like hire a lawyer, hire accountants? I know you're kind of big on paying people for information. Is one takeaway I've gotten a lot from this. Is that what you did? You just found people who knew what they did and then paid them to set it all up, or like how intimately did you get involved with that?
Andrew, you there? Hold on. This is a
You're
common
losing.
issue. No, he's coming back. This happens once every mastermind. There he
Oh
is.
Hey,
yeah, that's right. Yeah. Hey Andrew.
yeah. So basically, like, when I became a broker, you have a good point. Like, I had to get contracts drafted, and I had to do a lot of like clerical things. Um, in the broker licensing course, they teach you a lot about what they expect from you and what the state expects from you. So I had like a really good idea of what I needed to get done as I was taking the course to become a broker, which is in New York, it's a 45-hour course. So, it's a good amount of time going over a lot of those things. And then when I started the company, I had to get a lawyer to draft me, ICA contracts, the contracts for realtors. So I
Yeah.
had to have something like that in place. And then I had to do other things like get an MLS membership and, pay fees for different things here and there. I had to buy insurance. I had to buy liability insurance, errors and omissions insurance. I had to make sure that my agents were covered by those same policies. And then you have to keep the policies up to date because the more people you hire, then the higher the premium goes. So, there was some things to do here and there, but it didn't stop me from just going out and doing it. It's kind of like as I was going, I was like, oh, I should go get insurance. Like I didn't think of it in the beginning, but I thought of it like soon after we began,
Right.
and just went out
So
and
I
do
guess
it.
I'm
Like,
more I'm more kind of geared towards like how much help did you have with that type of stuff, or like did you rely on other people, or did you just kind of dive in yourself and like, okay, let's Google like how to get insurance and how to do it best.
so yeah, that's a good question. I had help from other people who had successful businesses. I would reach out to people they weren't exactly brokers, but they were business owners. So when I needed to
Right.
get things like insurance or contracts drafted or whatever, I found people who already had companies that I kind of wanted to emulate. So I found people I want to be like, and I said, "Who are your resources?" And then they gave me lawyers, accountants, bookkeepers, everything. And now in my company, like I don't do any bookkeeping. I have a bookkeeper who logs into my Chase Bank account and she goes through and makes profit and loss statements. And she tracks all expenses and she takes that, sends it to the accountant. If the accountant who does all that is the same accountant who runs my real estate funds. So every time we create an LLC for a house, like he knows everything. Like they're all so integrated at this point. The same lawyer that drafted the contracts for my agents is the lawyer who drafted the contracts for the real estate fund. So it all kind of grew, but I found people who already had successful businesses and I asked them for their resources.
Right. So on that as well, on the funds thing, because that's kind of like almost separate from the brokers, right? You're setting up these different funds. Like, did you find that kind of a lot of work, or how much help do you have with that in terms of like, setting up a fund as opposed to setting up a business, or was that very similar? I'm just sort of like, I know you're at a point now where it's kind of like it kind of runs not by itself, but it runs very smoothly. But just more so, like I'm always thinking about like the start of that and kind of like spending money on a lawyer, on an accountant, on someone to kind of get it set up, and then like kind of getting involved myself and making sure that I know enough so that I know the lawyer's doing what the lawyer's supposed to do or whatever. Like, so how did that go, I guess, with the real estate funds? Was that kind of like a big leap, or was that kind of very similar to what you were doing?
So when I created the real estate funds, I literally sat down with a lawyer and he said, "What do you want your fund to do?" And I said, "Here's what I want. I want to take other people's money and I want to put it wherever I want. Basically, I could go buy a house here, or I could flip a house, or I could do a rental, whatever. I just want to have the freedom to put it wherever I want. I don't want those other people to have the say in how I use it. And
Okay.
there's going to be no estimated time when the money's returned. And I said I'll share, a 20% profit return on the jobs with the investor. They just have to wait until the job is done. So he created the contract terms based on what I wanted. And now it's so once that contract's drafted, it's done, and you have to pay the lawyer for his time. That cost me about $35,000. And he drafted
Right.
me about 120 pages of legal verbiage to protect me so that if something happens, basically anyone tries to sue me, it's all been kind of disclosed to you, essentially. I mean, anyone can still try to sue. It's not bulletproof. Nothing's bulletproof, but it's way better to have this than not. So now my job is to not worry about that part because he basically put on paper what I wanted. My job is to go out, find investors, and convince them why they should do this. Like, why is it a good thing for them? Does that make sense?
It does make sense, and that's exactly what I wanted to ask you. Like, because you appear, I guess you are like the guy who seems free to kind of go out and do that. Like you're able to go out and do what you're best at, and everything else seems kind of taken care of. So my question was like, how the fuck did you take care of all that sort of stuff so that now you're free? And you kind of answered that for me, so appreciate that.
Well, the way I did that is by bringing in people who are good at taking direction. Like I said earlier, like they're willing to learn and they're good at taking direction, and they're smart. They're good at what they do. So the first time I started flipping houses, I found a guy who was flipping houses, and I studied his process. And I was looking at like, all right, how much money is this guy making? What is he doing here? What's he doing there? He was making on average like $25,000 or $30,000 every time he flipped a house. But I noticed that in his process, there were so many things that I could clean up that'll make his profits go way higher. So since he
Right.
started working with me, we swapped out the lender, we swapped out the title company, swapped out the lawyers, got people that were charging way less on things, got better hard money terms. We started making offers that were better on properties when we found them. And then we lowered our construction costs by becoming general contractors and then having license number going directly to wholesale vendors, going directly to subcontractors. This guy went from making $25,000 or $30,000 a job to making about 150 to 120 or even 100 per job, simply by adding me in the picture. Right? Because I looked at his process. I'm like, okay, what do I know as a realtor that I could bring to this guy? And all I did was just add to what he was doing. So now I go out, find money, I get the money in, I bring it to my partner now, who's, his name's Christian. He's now my partner. And he does the whole flip. And I basically just communicate to the investor and say, we're at this stage, we're at that stage, we just bought the house, we're waiting for permits, blah, 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 blah. And then Christian checks in with me. He's like, okay, what do because he's accountable to me and I'm accountable to the investor. So there's like a chain of command here. But that's how I get so many things done, is that I don't try to do it all myself. I just bring in people. Make sense?
Oh, we're losing him. Mayhem. Drive
I am
safe.
here.
You're
That
cutting
was
out,
great.
brother.
Thanks, Andrew.
Yeah, of course.
All right. Well, if anyone else has any other questions, raise your hand. Otherwise, hold your peace until the mastermind tomorrow. You're going to be at the mastermind tomorrow, Andrew?
Oh yeah, I love coming to those things, man. They're fun. We just basically goof around.
Yeah.
Not really. We do talk good stuff, but
It's semi-seriously professional.
right.
There we
Agreed.
go. Right? And I always get good info out of them. So, bro, thank you so much for coming and doing this event. I'm super excited for these classes that we have coming up. And yeah, what can I say? But thank you, Andrew. And you definitely make the server a much better place. And I'm super happy to have met you, bro. So where can people follow you online?
I really appreciate the kind words. That's awesome. I like hanging out on the server, by the way. I downloaded the Discord app and put it on my desktop computer in my office, so it's always running in the background. So every now and then I just like switch over the window and I'm like, what's everyone doing? And I want to just like drop in some gifs and just fool around, try to like screw up my ranking and make it go higher by texting 3 lines.
Oh, well, we're gonna
You
have
guys,
a nice prize for this month's contest. So
well, you guys can find me on Instagram and just search my name or just message me in Discord because again, I just leave it running on my computer. So if I'm at my desk in front of my office, chances are I'll get your message.
sweet, man. Sweet. All right. Well, I will see you guys tomorrow. Thank you for coming. And we'll have a recording of this fantastic session up shortly in past session recordings. So until tomorrow, I'm Actually Agents. If you or anyone you know is looking to buy or sell real estate, please contact me. All right. Take care, everybody. Bye,
Good night,
Andrew.
everyone.